Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take, episode 226. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by no one. I'm here on my own this week. Montrell is dealing with some personal stuff that he's taking care of. He will be back next week. I didn't want to bother DJ. He just filled in a couple weeks ago for me, so I figured I'd just cover this one solo this week. There's actually a good amount of stuff to go over. So a lot of news happened this week. So let's jump right in. So for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter at The Player's Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right. So I'm just gonna jump right into the game stuff this week. I'll go over how life's going when Montrell gets back next week. So I'm gonna start with what I've been playing. Not a lot of changes this week. Mostly just playing Honkai Star Rail and Tellurizer 3. Honkai, like I said last week, I got this game on basically farm status. Is really nothing for me to do beyond daily login and events, and then the weekly stuff that I have to do. But so still enjoying this game, but it is slowed down considerably. It's actually kind of interesting right now because I would have figured the next story piece would have come in 1.1, which is the patch we're currently on. We are getting close to halfway through this patch, and we've done. We're in the middle of the third event of this patch, and I think the next two events actually aren't that large either. So, game's interestingly kind of in a boring spot right now, because there's not a lot to do. If you're not spending any money on, Stellar Jade refreshes, there's, you log in, use your Jade, do your dailies, and pretty much log out, do Simulated Universe a couple times during the week, and that's kind of all of it. So, with a lack of story update, there's not a ton of things to do if you've really blasted through everything. So, which I have, I'm like fully caught up. I don't think I have anything left to do, like any quests or anything really. So, but it's fine. I wanted to get the game to this point. I didn't want to, like, if I'm going to play this game long term, I don't want to get it to where what happened with Genshin, where I come back after a year and a half and I literally spend fucking 6 months trying to catch up because there's so much goddamn content. So that's kind of where I'm at with this ultimately. So still a fun game though if you haven't jumped into it. Definitely worth checking out. And then to Tellurizer 3, this is the one I've been playing. I've been playing this pretty hard this past week. It's honestly, I played it every night since Montrell and I recorded last week. And I am making some significant progress. I am through, I think I've definitely crested the halfway point of the main story. And I am starting to kind of fill out the skill tree, and my level is pretty high. Actually, I'm in the high 50s in terms of character level. So I'm making some significant progress in this game. And making I honestly been mostly crafting the last couple days. Actually, last night in particular, all I did last night was craft in this game, and that's hours of playtime. So this game is not joking about the crafting system. I mentioned this before when I first started talking about this game, but that is the game, is the crafting system. I feel like everything else is kind of a set dressing almost for that. Ultimately, and I'm really enjoying that fact actually, because the crafting is really chill. Like I'm doing it while I'm listening to a show at the same time, so I'm kind of multitasking, and it's nice, it's relaxing. I'm not like stressed out or anything. I don't feel pressured to like blow through the game or anything like that. I'm really taking my time with this one, and trying to knock out side content, as it pops up. And honestly, the thing now that I'm doing is I have not been exploring the party as like playable characters very much, and I'm going to start doing that now that I'm deeper into the game. So what I've been doing lately is working on everybody's equipment. I'm trying to get everybody equipped with like actually good equipment, because I really only had 3 people outfitted, and I only had 2 of them outfitted to an acceptable degree. The other one in the main group I've been using is like half equipped with decent stuff. So I'm working on trying to get everybody built up with good equipment now. So yeah, this game is just really fun, man. I really fucking like this game. It feels like a culmination of everything this series has been building towards. That's kind of how I've been reading, like seeing everything I've been reading about the game. Players of the series have been saying about it is that it is kind of that culmination to everything they've been building, entry after entry after entry, and they really had a little bit more time and budget with this game than they've had with others in the series, and they were really able to make something large and deep, I guess. And I'm feeling that as a first time player. It's just a really enjoyable game overall. I like the chillness of it. I like the environments too. Like I mentioned this before, is they're pretty static, but I don't know why. It's just I'm finding it appealing. I don't need everything to look like The Last of Us, like hyper realistic, really like, living ecosystems and shit like that. Like I don't really need that in games necessarily all the time. So it's kind of a nice, refreshing breath of fresh air. But I am trying to get through it though because there's a lot of other stuff that I want to play. So I've been working on this one pretty hard. I'm hoping to have it finished in the next week, maybe 2 weeks. Is kind of my plan, but it depends. I'm sort of debating about platinuming this game because I like it that much. So I'm gonna start looking into that soon, probably what that looks like. If it's too difficult to do, then I may forego that to a later time, like a secondary playthrough in the future someday. But we'll see. Figure that one out. So it's a really good game though. If you're into crafting and MMOs or other types of RPGs in the past, this is definitely worth checking out. This game has a really cool crafting system, and the game's cool. Like the party's really, I like the party for the most part. Actually, it's just it's kind of just like a bunch of kids like going on an adventure and hanging out together and like enjoying that fact. The stakes aren't very high, which I enjoy, and the overall um narrative isn't like super intense. I will say though, one thing I am starting to feel the deeper I get into this game and the more characters you meet that the in-game characters know, that have met before. Like I didn't play the prior two games, so I am missing out on some of that built up lore knowledge, and it's like it's a little awkward at times. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed in that regard, with some of these characters that are popping up now, where I'm like, they're talking about locations, like they're referencing locations from prior games or things from prior games. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about because I didn't play the prior games, I have like a very general understanding of what happened in those games. So, but regardless, I think even if you haven't played the prior games in the series, I still think this is a pretty decent starting point to jump into. So, I would definitely recommend it. So, all right, moving on. I'm going to jump into the news here. Like I said, there's actually a decent amount of news this week because we had a Nintendo Direct. So I'm going to cover this. I may not touch on every game necessarily that they showed, but Montrell may give some thoughts next week, similar to how I did with Summer Game Fest last week. So I will kind of cover the most important things. I think the things that interested me for the most part. I don't necessarily feel the need to touch on every game, but whatever. We'll see. Let's just go through it. So first thing they showed was some DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I haven't played these games, so I don't know much to say about this other than the fact that like the game looks cool. All the things I've heard about what happened with this game from a technical standpoint have scared me away from it. So, when these games are on deeper discount, I will probably jump into one of them, certainly, because I still feel like the idea of an open world Pokemon game is very, very appealing, but those technical problems that the game originally had were just such a turn off. So, but there's DLC coming this fall and then in the winter for folks who did buy it. So look forward to that. They showed Sonic Superstars, which we've already seen at Summer Game Fest. There's a game called Palia, which is a like a uh online free to play, kind of like a building game, like sort of like Stardew Valley-ish, where you kind of building your own little space, and you're in a world though with other players, which I guess is interesting. So um then they showed Persona 5 Tactics, which we also talked about at Summer Game Fest. Something called Myth Force, which is like a first person action game of some sort. Don't have much to say about that. They showed a Splatoon Splatfest coming in July for Splatoon 3. And then we got the first like real new game announcement, I guess. Was Detective Pikachu Returns. Detective Pikachu came out a few years ago now, I feel like, because there was a movie as well that wasn't necessarily a tie-in, but also came out between the game and now. So yeah, Detective Pikachu Returns. It looks like more of what they've already made with Detective Pikachu. So if you were into that game, you got a new one coming on October 6th this year. So and then after that, this is the first announcement that really kind of got me going. Personally, was Super Mario RPG. Is they're doing a remake for this game, like a full on 3D remake of this game, with like modern graphics. And I'm gonna be honest, dude, like this looks fucking awesome. I love Super Mario RPG. It is one of my favorite games that I've ever played. To be honest, I love the style of it, just the gameplay, and how different it is from everything else that's Mario, that's been Mario over the years. And it's a true RPG too, in that like Final Fantasy style sense. It's not as deep as a Final Fantasy game, certainly, but it's somewhere in that realm, most definitely. So it is a precursor to Paper Mario. There's some elements that Paper Mario kind of took from this game that I'm actually going to guess a lot of people don't know about. So this would be a good game, I think, for people who weren't around or didn't play the Super NES deeply to check out, because this game's really cool. It has a really fun story. There's actually some really cool characters in it as well, that are unique to this game specifically, which is really cool as well. And yeah, I don't know. I'd highly recommend taking a look at this trailer if you haven't. But you can play the original Super Mario RPG, of course. I believe it is in the Nintendo Online subscription that you get retro games with. So I think you can check it out that way. But yeah, I mean, a remake of this game is awesome. It's so good. And it looks like they redid some of the music too, based on the trailer, which is like really exciting. So I'm very, very excited about this one. This is a big one. This is another game to add to the list later this year, because it is coming on November 17th. So it's another game to throw into that time frame that I really want to play myself. So yeah, that one's looking really exciting. They did announce right after that a Princess Peach game. They didn't show very much. It kind of looks like a side scroller of some sort, but they didn't show. They showed maybe 30 seconds of anything. So they were really just announcing this game. So Peach is getting her own game. And then after that, they showed a Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon from the 3DS is getting a, not a remake, but a kind of a remaster, a touching up, and they're putting it on the Switch. So that's coming as well. And both of those are coming next year. They said in 2024. So I actually played Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. I didn't get very far in it because it is pretty different from the original Luigi's Mansion. It is much more, I guess, level based, I'll say. Like, you kind of go in with a mission and you explore aspects of the mansion. For that mission specifically, you don't have free reign to go wherever you want necessarily in any given mission. So that was a little bit of a turnoff. Ultimately, Luigi's Mansion 3 was much more in line with what I enjoyed from the first game. As much as it still wasn't perfect, it was a little bit more freeform though, and I did enjoy that a little bit more. So, um, after that, they showed the Arkham games. The Batman Arkham trilogy is coming to Switch. They're doing a remaster, or not a remaster, but like they're all coming in one package with all the DLCs and everything. They're coming to Nintendo Switch. So I guess that's cool for the first time. You'll get access to all of these games on Nintendo platforms because I don't think any of them were available outside of, I want to say Arkham City came out on the Wii U when it first launched, and that's it. Asylum wasn't on any Nintendo consoles as far as I know. I don't think Arkham Knight ever came out on a Nintendo console either. Um, so yeah, that's cool to see. I actually don't know if the Arkham trilogy is on the new consoles like PS5 and Xbox Series X. So that's something to check out if they aren't. So that's probably coming to other platforms as well if it hasn't already. But that is coming later this year. So um, yeah, look forward to that one. All right, moving on. After that, they showed Gloomhaven, the digital version of Gloomhaven, which is I actually have it on PC. It's very faithful to the original game, and pretty cool. Very faithful to the board game. That is. There are some changes to make it work in a video game form, but certainly worth checking out. It'll probably be a great game for Switch, given the handheld nature of it. So that'll be a fun one to pick up. And that should be coming. That's coming on September 18th, it looks like. After that, we had Just Dance 2024 shown. Don't care about that personally. Something called Silent Hope, which this was an interesting one. It's an RPG where nobody can speak, and it's an action RPG, it looks like. It actually looks kind of cool, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to play it, but it definitely looks like an intriguing game. If I had more time and the time to play stuff, I would probably check this out. So that's definitely one worth looking into if you're into action RPGs. And that's coming on October 3rd, 2023. And then they showed Fae Farm. I think we saw this one recently as well. And then Hot Wheels Unleashed 2. So Hot Wheels Unleashed actually came out a couple of years ago, and came out to relatively pretty good reviews. People were really into this. So this fact that it's getting a second one so quickly, not necessarily a surprise, but that is coming on Switch as well. If you're interested in that, I actually bought that game and never played it, unfortunately, and I'm a little sad about that. I'd love to play this game because it looks cool, but I just never found the time for it. So, um, after that was something called Manic Mechanics. Um, this looks like a co-op, almost like a local co-op game of some sort. Um, so yeah, maybe kind of looks similar to like Overcooked, from what I can see of it. And then after that, they showed a Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope DLC coming out. So if you like that game, you're going to be getting more of it. And then after that was Square Enix showing off Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, which is coming on December 1st. This is kind of a Monster Rancher style game, where you capture and command monsters. And you can actually combine them to make other monsters, which is interesting, but not my type of game necessarily. But I know some Dragon Quest fans that are excited about this, certainly. After that, we got Pikmin 4. Pretty lengthy look at it again, and I just want to reiterate, I've said this before when I first saw this, but yeah, this game looks really cool, looks really fun. I'm kind of excited about it myself. I'm hoping I have the time to play it, because I'm going to be honest, I haven't played Pikmin in like 20 years. I was really into Pikmin 1 when I was a kid, when I was younger. And then Pikmin 2, I played a little bit when it came out, but I never finished it. I did finish the first one, but since then, I have not played a Pikmin game. So I totally skipped over Pikmin 3, and I've never played any of the remasters for 1 and 2 either. So it'd be kind of fun to jump into Pikmin 4, which looks really cool. I love the environments. I love the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style to the environments, where you're kind of in like a home, like somebody's house, and kind of around in their yard and stuff. It's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So that is coming in July. I think it's July 21st, I want to say. And then they did announce at the same time as well that Pikmin 1 and 2 are out now already, and they're digitally available on Nintendo Switch. So you can pick those up. I believe you can get both for $50 as a bundle, which is a little pricey for games that have been re-released before and are 20 years old. But it is Nintendo, so they're gonna do what they're gonna do. And then after the Pikmin, is actually one more thing with Pikmin. There's gonna be a demo on June 28th, which actually I might try to check that out if I can. That'll be a good way to like test out if I'm really into that game as much as I feel like I'm going to be. So after Pikmin was they showed the Metal Gear Solid collection is coming on October 24th on Switch. We already knew about that for other consoles, but to see it is confirmed for Switch is not too bad as well. Then after that, Vampire Survivors. This game is really popular. Had a lot of success since it's come out, and I guess it wasn't out on Switch. I kind of thought it was, but it is not. So this is a kind of it's a weird game. It's hard to describe. It's almost like a space shooter. You know those old space shooters like I'm trying to remember the name of them. Not Caliga. The side scrolling ones, the ones where you're like on the left side of the screen and you're shooting tons of enemies and stuff, and there's all sorts of like bullet hell shit on the screen. It's kind of like that, but in a more open fashion. You're not side scrolling. You're like you can go wherever you want, but there's enemies constantly flowing towards you. It's like a wave survival game. But your character always attacks, like constantly attacks. So depending on what weapon and power ups you might have, that attack will change. You don't actually like press a button to attack, which is an interesting concept. So that's coming on August 17th. An interesting one, for sure. Then after that was some weird rhythm game where you're a pigeon. Don't know much to say about that. And then after that was Penny's Big Breakaway was shown. This looks like this is a 3D platformer of some sort. I don't know if it's like an open world platformer necessarily in the style of like Banjo Kazooie, or if it's more like Mario kind of 3D world where you're playing levels, trying to complete some kind of objective. I'm not sure. That wasn't super clear from what they showed here, but that game is also coming early next year, is what they said. After that was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC, Booster Course Pass Wave 5, which is bonkers. Because I think there's 8 of these, right, coming. And it feels like we get one every half year, which is just insane. I don't know why they're stretching these out so much, and they are really trying to stretch Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to such an absurd degree that it is nuts, in my opinion, how much they're like milking this game. But it's coming later this summer, so if you're still playing that game, look forward to that. And then after that, this was the next thing for me that was kind of a big one, was another remake. Star Ocean, the Second Story R, is getting a 3D 2D remake where the environments are in 3D and the characters are in 2D. And I've never played Star Ocean 1 or 2. I've played 3, I've played 4. I did not play 5, and I've yet to play 6 that came out last year, but I do like the Star Ocean games, and I have heard that this is the best one in the series, probably, that a lot of people say that. So I am very excited to check this one out as well. It actually looks really good. The combat looks cool, looks really awesome, and the story is certainly intriguing. And as a fan of Star Ocean, I'm just excited to try another one of these out on a console that I actually kind of have access to and is more modern. Because these came out on, I want to say PSP or Vita a long time ago, and I don't remember them being anywhere else. Like Square re-released them, and at the time I just wasn't in a big phase for the handhelds, so I never picked them up and played them. But on Switch, this will be a good one for Switch. So coming on November 2nd, this year. So it's another game to add to that fall winter window again. So it's just kind of absurd how many games are coming out in the back half of this year. This feels like the complete antithesis to last year, which was almost barren in this back half of the year. Is now absolutely packed this year with games. So after that, they showed WarioWare Move It, which is coming out on November 3rd as well this year. And it's a WarioWare game, just a bunch of micro games, as they call them. Not my style, but there are definitely a lot of people who love this series. So it's cool that they're getting another game. And then after that, the next thing they showed was some amiibo for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Those are coming soon, coming in the holiday this year. And then that was it for the main stuff. And then the big announcement at the end there, one more thing, was a new 2D Mario game, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And this, I'm not a big fan of 2D Mario, if I'm being honest. I have never gelled with 2D Mario in the way I think a lot of gamers have over the years, because I just don't, for whatever reason, A, I'm not very good at Mario, but B, I'd say more importantly, I just don't seem to jive with the style of gameplay that Nintendo goes for with the 2D Marios. And that, I mean, that's going all the way back to like the NES Marios. So this has been true for me my whole life, because I remember as a kid playing Super Mario World and I could not beat the first area. Like, I just didn't get it. I didn't get Mario. And I'm going to be honest, to this day, I still don't get 2D Mario. I am much more inclined to play the 3D Marios, like Odyssey and, Super Mario 64 and Galaxy 2, of course. So those are much more my jive. But I will say, for the first time in a long time, they have made something very interesting looking for Mario for me. This game looks a lot more, I'd almost say, zany, and it feels like more of a reset for Mario, at least for 2D Mario. And I don't think we've gotten a new one of these, like this style Mario game, in a really long time, actually. I think it's been almost 10 years since we got like a strictly 2D Mario in New Super Mario Brothers U, which they did re-release on Switch, but is not like a net new Mario game. That was just a re-release of an existing one. So while they did add new content and stuff, that's, not a new game again. So yeah, this is I don't know, it looks cool. It's a little bit more zany, because there's like this power up you get that makes the world kind of go crazy. Like the level kind of goes insane, and like some random shit starts happening. Like Mario will like get really tall and then really short all of a sudden, really tall, really short, like in like intervals. And it kind of looked cool. Like it looked like a really cool mechanic to me. Kind of change up that gameplay that for me is not all the way there most of the time. So um I think it looks really cool. They did show a new power up where Mario turns into an elephant, which was really interesting. They showed a bunch of characters you can play as. Daisy will actually be playable, and it looks like there will be 4-player co-op as well, if you want that. If you want that in your 2D Mario game. So this game looks like it's going to be packed with a lot of stuff in it, a lot of features, a lot of new gameplay elements for Mario, and it is coming on October 20th, which is again soon. This is the first we've heard about this game, and it's coming out in 4 months. So I actually love this approach from Nintendo. So I guess I'll transition over to talking about the whole direct as a whole. I'm loving this approach by Nintendo, where they do a direct every 6 months to talk about the next 6 months. Like that has been their cadence lately, I'd say for the last like 2 or 3 years, and I'm really digging that from them. I think it's working really well. Not every direct is for me or for Montrell necessarily, but that's okay. They don't have to be. I'm not like looking for games all the time on Nintendo Switch. I got plenty right now that I'm excited about, that I'm playing currently, and that are sitting next to my Switch. Waiting to be played. So I like their strategy. I think it's working pretty well. And then they've got a few irons in the fire of more long term teases. But I think it's a lot better approach to announce a new Mario game and it's coming out in 4 months from when you announce it. Like, I just think that works so well. And it doesn't leave your audience like waiting forever and ever. And then you don't say anything about the game for like 2 fucking years and people are asking you about it all the time. And you're like, oh, we're still working on it. We're still working on it. We're still working on it. And it's like, oh, well, we had to delay it. Oh, we had to delay it. Oh, we had to delay it. And it's like the game doesn't come out for 3 years after you announce it. And it's like that kind of thing I feel like doesn't work super well for games and is a really frustrating part of being a gamer. I much prefer this. I know in some ways the secrecy is a little insane in the games industry. Like the games industry feels like it's so much more important than it actually is in some ways, but at the same time, I think as a consumer, like I don't want to be waiting for shit forever. I don't want to be like Square Enix where they announce Kingdom Hearts 4 and then they don't release it for 5 years after they announce it. Like, fuck, that sucks. I hate that. That's why I don't get excited about these games a lot of the time when they're shown, especially when we don't have a release date or a release window, because I'm like, what am I getting excited about? I'm literally going to be sitting here for 2 years thinking about this game. Like, I don't care. Like, I will get excited when it's closer, and it's like actually close to being tangible in my hands. So I have to commend Nintendo for the way they've been handling these directs lately. There were a few announcements for games next year, like early next year, which is fine. I think that's good. That gives them some wiggle room in case things get pushed back or their next direct isn't quite ready in time for to talk about the next 6 months. And I just think I think it's working really well. Now, this direct itself as a whole, this is probably not necessarily one of the best ones, but I do got to say there was a lot of new announcements in here that we didn't know about that are coming soon. We had, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Super Mario RPG Remake, Detective Pikachu Returns, the WarioWare is new. So those are all Nintendo games, first party games, and they're all coming soon, and then you had a little bit more of a tease later out with a Princess Peach game, and then, the Luigi's Mansion kind of re-release on the Switch. So I think they're doing a good job for the most part, and I appreciate their style with it. I think this direct was solid. Do I think it was the best? No. But I think if they're all kind of this level or better, though, then Nintendo's in a good spot, personally. So I think it was pretty good overall. So yeah, that was good. All right, I'm going to take a drink real quick. Man, it's hard to talk for 20 minutes straight with like no break. All right, moving on in the news. Microsoft is, for the first time, increasing the price of Xbox Series X outside of a few territories. And more importantly, Xbox Game Pass subscription is going up for the first time. So Microsoft is sort of doing what Sony did with their console recently, and they are increasing the price in basically all territories that are not the US, Japan, Chile, Brazil, and Colombia. And the increase appears to be, there's some different pricing depending on the region. It appears to be in about the realm of 15% increase overall in whatever region you're in. But that's not as important to me. That's more of an adjustment for kind of the market and inflation. I think Sony's already done that themselves with the PS5, and Xbox is kind of just following suit, right? But the bigger one to me is Game Pass. That one is not territory specific. That is across the board. It is going up $2 a month for console Ultimate. It is going from $14.99 to $16.99 a month. And then the base Game Pass subscription is going from $9.99 to $10.99 a month. And this is happening for the first time. They've never increased the price since they launched Game Pass. And supposedly Phil Spencer's been hinting at this recently, that this was coming, that people should expect this to not stay the same forever. And I mean, that was obvious. Montrell and I have been saying this for years on this podcast about Game Pass, is that eventually they're going to increase the price. And is it in the right moment? Is this the right moment necessarily? Do they have enough subscribers that this price increase is going to be a huge boon for them? I'm not sure they're quite there yet, but I'm sure they've done the numbers, and there are reasons they're doing this, certainly. And I'm sure you're still going to be able to get a lot of deals getting Game Pass in certain ways, whether that's sales on Amazon or whatever site sells the cards you can buy for 3 months or 12 months, or the subscription itself, being able to sign up for $1 for 3 months or 1 month or whatever that promotion is. I don't think there's been an announcement that that's necessarily going away, or those kind of things are going to go away. So I'm sure you'll still be able to get it for cheaper than these prices. But I will say I am personally very intrigued to see how this plays out midterm. Do they increase the price again within the next 12 months or even the next 24 months? Because we've seen this with a lot of other subscription services where price increases tend to come often once they start coming. Like, they happen very frequently. Like Netflix, I mean, they've increased the price, I feel like 10 times in the last 5 years, and they had a steady price for a long time. So I'll be interested to see if Microsoft does that, and does that push people away from the subscription at all. I don't think it will necessarily. I think there is so much value in Game Pass, and honestly, this feels strategic right before the launch of Starfield and then potentially a run of quality first party games for Microsoft, that this feels like pretty good timing to do this. That I think they might be trying to take advantage of that a little bit, thinking that they're going to get a subscription influx regardless of the price increase because of something like Starfield. So I'll just be monitoring this, honestly, just keeping track of it. If there's another price increase, of course we will cover it on the show, but I would lean towards the side that I think we will get a price increase in the next 24 months again. $2 a user is a lot when you have 30 million or 20 million, however many subscribers they have. That is a lot of money, but it might not be enough to make Game Pass truly profitable. So we'll see. More on that. All right, moving on. Diablo 4. Montrell and I talked about it last week, kind of gave our thoughts, which interestingly, I haven't played it since last week's podcast. I've not been compelled at all. That game has completely fallen off the map for me. Now, I will say, admittedly, our friend group right now is kind of taking a break from Discord and playing stuff together. We haven't really been online all together in not several, but a few weeks, like 3 weeks, maybe 4. 4 for some of us, and it's been quiet on there. I haven't been getting on myself, so I think once everybody maybe comes back, we may be getting back into Diablo 4 a little bit to play some co-op. But until then, I'm not super interested right now. I'm just not feeling it at the moment. But this news story, the game came out, and then within a week had made over $660 million in under a week, which is a lot of money for a brand new game. That equates to around 10 million in sales if we're talking gross sales in terms of the translation. So that's a very successful game for Blizzard for sure, who kind of needed a win. They've had a rough few years, and I don't think Overwatch 2 has been hyper successful for them in recent times. As much as we were enjoying it, I just don't think the community for that game is necessarily liking that game a whole lot right now. So given that, Blizzard kind of needed something to hit. And I think Diablo 4 has done that for them. Not a surprise. I was kind of expecting that. They've definitely built this game for the casual audience, and I think that's going to do them a lot of favors, probably down the road. So yeah, a lot of money going to Blizzard for Diablo 4. All right, gonna take another drink here. All right, moving on. Montrell and I never talked about April NPD numbers last month. Kind of forgot about it, and then I was out, and then we didn't have time to talk about it last week because we went for 3 hours, and then yeah, so here we are. So yeah, April was an interesting month. Total video game sales for the month were 4.123 billion this year versus 4.320 billion last year. That is a minus 5% decrease in sales. Video game content, so this is physical, digital, full game sales, DLC, microtransactions, subscriptions across all platforms. 3.598 billion this year versus 3.819 billion last year. That is a minus 6% decrease. Video game hardware, 367 million this year versus 343 million last year. That's a 7% increase. And then video game accessories was flat, 158 million for both this year and last year. And yes, so yeah, we've seen some decreases in game sales overall. Games themselves, hardware is continuing to be positive, but that makes a lot of sense where we had a lot of shortages this time last year of PS5 in particular that are now mostly alleviated. So that is not a huge surprise. So yeah, moving on to the top 20 games sold for the month of April. Number 1, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Number 2, Dead Island 2. Number 3, MLB The Show 23. Number 4, Resident Evil 4. Number 5, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Number 6, Hogwarts Legacy. Number 7, PGA Tour. Number 8, Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. Number 9, FIFA 23. Number 10, Mario Kart 8. Jesus. Number 11, Minecraft Legends. Number 12, Elden Ring. Number 13, Minecraft. Number 14, Final Fantasy 1 through 6 bundle. Number 15, Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. Number 16, New Super Mario Bros. Number 17, The Last of Us Part 1. Number 18, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Number 19, Madden NFL 23. And number 20, Super Mario 3D World. So yeah, interesting numbers. Star Wars Jedi Survivor being number 1, not a surprise at all. Dead Island 2 being so high, though, at number 2 is interesting. I cannot believe how popular the series is, because from everything I've ever heard from anybody that's played Dead Island, like, it is not that good of a game. So, yeah, that's an interesting one, certainly. MLB The Show 23 holding strong in its same slot. Number 3 is pretty interesting as well. Golf game PGA Tour being 7 is interesting, and Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection at 8, higher than FIFA and Mario Kart 8. Like, that is an impressive. Those are impressive sales numbers for just a collection of old games. Mega Man Battle Network is very popular. I always felt that way about that series, despite never playing it. A lot of people love those games, and be kind of interesting to see if Capcom maybe thinks about making a new one based on the success of the Legacy Collection there. What else? Final Fantasy 1 through 6 bundle. Yeah, so Square Enix, they've been beating around the bush with this shit forever, man. Like, they've been holding these games off, putting them on, the new consoles for so long, and it just makes no sense. It's such a obvious moneymaker that I just don't know why it took Square this long to do it. I always had the theory that maybe they were holding it as like an emergency situation if they were doing poorly, but clearly they weren't doing that. So it just makes me wonder, like, what took so long for these? I don't know. Because yeah, they're number 14 on the list. I mean, that's impressive, again, for a bundle of old games. Even though they're Final Fantasy games, still old games, much older than Mega Man Battle Network, by the way. I mean, these are games that came out in the 80s and 90s, so 1 through 6. So yeah, Advance Wars as well, that was a remake, so that's impressive at 15. And then the two Mario games, New Super Mario Bros. And then Super Mario 3D World, both on the list, that might be coming off the success of the movie a little bit, I would think. So that is pretty interesting, certainly. And then just real quick, looking at the top 20 best-selling games of the whole year so far, we've got Hogwarts Legacy at 1, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 at 2, Resident Evil 4 at 3, Star Wars Jedi Survivor at 4, MLB The Show 23 at 5, Dead Island 2 all the way at 6 already, Dead Space at 7, FIFA 23 at 8, Madden NFL 23 at 9, Elden Ring at 10, The Last of Us Part 1 at 11, God of War Ragnarok at 12, Mario Kart 8 at 13, Minecraft at 14, Pokemon Scarlet Violet at 15, Fire Emblem Engage at 16, Forspoken at 17, Sonic Frontiers 18, Octopath Traveler 2 at 19, and NBA 2K 23 rounding out the list at 20. A lot of games from last year on this list. Obviously, this is only through April, so a third of the year. Most of the top part of the list is 2023 games, so we will see more of those probably fill in as the year goes on. But I will say Fire Emblem Engage being at 16, it's cool to see that. I'm sure by the end of the year it won't even be on the list, but it's just nice to see a Fire Emblem game anywhere in a top 20 best-selling games list, so that's nice. All right, moving on. That was it for news that I had. Well, actually, sorry, I forgot one. Baten Kato's 1 and 2 remaster got a release date, and it is coming on September 14th. So that's another one for me to add to my list of games coming soon that I want to play, because I love Baten Kato's 1 and 2, and so does Montrell. So I will certainly be playing these probably when they come out. But yeah, it's a big one. It's these are really good games. I would really recommend people check them out if you have the money to and the time to. This is such an underrated couple of games. I think they're super good. And yeah, I'd highly recommend them. Made by Monolith Soft, same team that makes the Xenoblade Chronicles games. This is one of their earlier franchises, and you can definitely see the tendrils of their design tenets in these two games. Very similar stylings in terms of look and feel and music to the Xenoblade games, I would say, but excellent games on their own. Gameplay very different from Xenoblade. Presentation very different from Xenoblade as well in terms of the actual kind of perspective you play the game through. But great games nonetheless. And then I forgot another story as well that I put in the doc. Immortals of Avium was delayed until August. I know Montrell was looking forward to this one. This one looks cool as well to me, but it is now coming on August 22nd. It was originally coming on July 20th. They need another month to do some polish, clean some things up. So if you're looking forward to that one, you'll need to wait a little bit longer. All right. I think I'm going to call it there. I had one more thing, but I kind of want to talk about this with Montrell next week. So I think I'm going to hold this one off, and I think I'm going to end the episode there. So, yeah, there's a lot of news to talk about, but I'm on my own, so no back and forth. As you can tell, these episodes are shorter when you're doing them on your own. There's no one to bounce off of. So Montrell will be back next week, like I said. And yeah, let's go into the end of the show here to wind down. So if you like this episode, please like the episode, review the show, subscribe to the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on, and please share it with your friends. If you would like to interact with either of us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrapForTheHokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And that is going to be it for us, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week. Bye.